in the 06010. Focus, fantasy. Focus.
Welcome into the Fantasy Focus Football Podcast, the CSS DFS Podcast. Today's show is presented by Geico. Switch to Geico and see all the ways that you could save. Daniel Dopp, Mike Clay, Al Zeidenfeld, like always, hanging out, bringing you everything you need to know for the Week 11 slate.
And it's a big day.
If
you missed the first pod today, it is officially today, 1 week till Thanksgiving.
One week until Thanksgiving, officially. Big day today.
I use that joke twice now, but it is Daniel Dopp's birthday. Happy 40th birthday. You got the 40 on your shirt there. You're celebrating the big year, so
appreciate it.
Happy birthday. We love you. We love you on this show, on the main show, all of the shows, in life. You're a great person. One of my best friends, and we're happy to have you here.
This is one of the reasons why I was excited my birthday would be on a Thursday, because I knew Mike was going to have to say something nice twice. Normally he doesn't say something nice at all.
It's all downhill from here.
Today he had to do it twice. Al, do you
Yeah.
want to add anything in on today? It doesn't have to be about me. It can just be about anything. We're really excited to be able to have you here.
Well, you guys are much younger than me, so you're dressed in uniform. See, I'm on the sideline because I'm older,
Wow.
so I'm dressed like the coach. I got my hoodie on. I'm ready to go. I got my play sheet right here. I'm ready to call plays. I'll put them over my mouth every time I'm going to make a play.
Oh, that's the way to do it.
It makes sense, right? He's the coach. We're the players, right? He's telling us how to win in DFS, right? So it makes sense. By the way, I'm wearing a Lions jersey for watching the video. It's on YouTube, right? That's where we roll it. So I'm wearing a Giants jersey as well. And Daniel is such a great guy that for his birthday, he brought me a gift and gave me his old Darius Slay Detroit Lions jersey, which I love. Obviously, he's on my Eagles now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of mojo too. Lions on a 2-game winning streak. Eagles obviously not on a winning streak. So trying to help the Eagles along a little bit, just as end of season push, Mike.
All right. You got to take your shots while you can.
I literally only have a few areas, so I am going to take those shots.
This is your moment. This is your one moment.
This is it. All right, let's talk about our Week 10 recap. Mike, you had another great week. Actually, we both did really well this week. You beat me, though, by 12 points.
Yeah, we're on a roll, though.
We are
just both of us.
on a roll. It has been quite nice this year. Unfortunately, you are on a bigger roll than me. You are 8-2 over me. Season standings. Shout out to Josh Crew, 227.48. Brought home the league winner, which is fantastic.
And by the way, shout out to our listeners, because we're getting so many messages from people that have been just crushing it. And they're watching the show. We're giving them some information. We're giving a little bit of an assist, but they're setting their lineups and they're crushing these tournaments and winning big money. So shout out to all of you watching and out there kicking some rear end,
kicking
for sure.
some butt. Absolutely.
Some butt. That's right. That's Disney friendly language.
We're allowed
right
to
there.
say that there, 100%. So let's do it again this week. Check out our Twitter handles, at Mike Clay NFL. I'm at Daniel Dopp. We will tweet out a link to our league. We don't tell people how much money is available because it is a free league. But this week, just like every other week this year, you can win $1,000 up for grabs. So go in there, play against Mike and I. It's a ton of fun. We will tweet it out a little bit later this week. Until then,
let's set these lineups.
Do you want to look back at your lineup from last week? Do we have that to look at?
Do you want to?
Do we have a lineup to look back to? No?
I don't know. Our graphics is let's get down to business.
All right, so let's look ahead.
Business.
We'll do it. Let's talk quarterbacks. We got Justin Fields, Mike Clay. Is there any reason to go away from Justin Fields right now in DFS?
No, again, I said the same thing I'll say last week, and he was great last week again, which I'll get to in a second. But, I don't want to chase points, right? We want to look forward. And Fields' price isn't high enough yet. So we're not chasing points. He's just not where he should be at. He's 7,600. He's fourth in pricing at quarterback. He is $900 less than Josh Allen. He is $800 less than Lamar Jackson. And he's been outscoring both of those guys. He is the number one scoring fantasy quarterback the last 2 weeks. His DraftKings point totals, 45.7 2 weeks ago. That was the highest scored by a quarterback in a game this season.
That's amazing.
And then he had a big step back last week to 42.2 fantasy points. A rough one, right? A big step back. So we started him last week. Obviously, it worked out great. During those 2 games, 5 passing touchdowns. So we're getting that out of him now, which is big. We didn't have that earlier this season. And his rushing line is ludicrous for a quarterback. 28 carries, 325 yards, and 3 more touchdowns. It's 8 touchdowns in 2 games. Like, he has just been ridiculous right now. Great matchup. They're in Atlanta. They're playing a team that's allowed the 8th most fantasy points to quarterbacks, the 2nd most completions and yards allowed. So he's a good passing matchup. We know what he can do with his legs. He's playing great. Chase Claypool's role is only going to grow. Darnell Mooney's there. Cole Kmet's scoring touchdown. Like, it's just coming together for that offense right now. They can't play defense, but the offense has been good. And by the way, We don't want him to play defense.
No.
Right?
No.
We need Atlanta to score 2 or 3 touchdowns and keep this a high-scoring game. So it's all systems go right now for Justin Fields. Good luck finding a way not to start him.
Yeah, put him in your lineup. We love him. And you're right. I mean, the dude just has ludicrous speed.
Yeah.
Shout
Ludicrous
out.
speed.
What is that from?
Is that
Baseball.
airplane? Baseball.
Oh, come on, Al. You didn't even let him have a chance.
Oh,
You
yeah.
jumped
No,
in.
You know
Yeah,
he's
I
not
went
going to
airplane.
get it. So, like, why even give him a chance?
I was close.
wow.
I was close.
You
Come
did
on.
say
Help him
airplane,
out.
space
Airplane was
ball.
close.
No way he was going to get Spaceballs.
But you were in the
references.
he
I've
was
seen
in the
that many
time
times.
frame. You were in the
I was close.
Yeah,
I love airplane.
That's fair.
More airplane references.
Al, what about for you? By the way, you've got your own quarterback you want to talk about, and Dak Prescott, $6,600. Lots of reason to talk about him. Quickly though, from a tournament perspective, are you okay with Justin Fields from a tourney perspective this week as well?
Yeah, I would not feel like you have to stack Justin Fields, at least not thoroughly. You could just go with
Skinny
Justin
stack,
Fields
maybe?
as a secondary stack
Oh,
and play Justin Fields and then maybe like Cordero Patterson or Kyle Pitts on the other side and just use that as a secondary stack and then double stack around Justin Fields with another offense that you like. But stacking is extremely tough this week based on the way that DraftKings is priced, specifically the mid to low tier wide receivers. So it's much harder recently.
does Dak
Specifically
give
this
you a better option or availability to stack based on being able to save about $1,000?
Yeah, Dak is a fantastic stacking option this week. And like, surely there's ways to get different. And there are, but don't call me Shirley. 46 passes last week at Lambeau Field.
Yes.
His first game. Guys, focus. Focus. His first game with 30 attempts this season in this game, 2 of the top 5 pace offense. So like, there's not a lot of spots this week, a lot of really low total games. I think there's like 3 to 4 games that are 5 games that are hovering at 40 or below. And then we have a snowpocalypse in Buffalo, possibly, where even if they play there, maybe the field will be fine because the snow is expected before the game, the days before the game, or maybe they move it to like Detroit and just have them kind of play the game there in a dome. So very limited options in terms of quarterbacks that have ceilings of 300 plus yards and 3 or more touchdowns. And Dak Prescott does that, including the fact that he goes through basically 2 guys. Schultz and Lamb last week, 53.5 combined target market share of Dak's throw.
It's tough to not like Dalton Schultz and CeeDee Lamb. Excited to see if maybe we talk about them a little bit later on in the show.
Perhaps some
find
foreshadowing.
out. Also, like Joe Burrow this week, $6,800. That's too low taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Clay. We love Joe Burrow. So a couple quarterbacks we like this week, Justin Fields, Dak Prescott, and Joe Burrow. Let's move ahead to some running backs here. And Mike, Saquon Barkley, $8,900 is the most expensive running back on the slate. However, he's taking on, as we often do, the Detroit Lions. Is there any way that you cannot find a way to get Saquon into your lineup?
But his price is going up, but it's not high enough. So I've just been using him week after week after week, and it keeps working. So let's just keep doing it, right? So look, the big thing here is he's projected for so many more points than the next closest running back that it's worth the 8,900 price point. I have him projected for 6.1 more fantasy points than next closest running back. That's Joe Mixon. He's the highest price, but again, well worth it with that projection. 36 touches last week at 160 yards and a touchdown. He's averaging 25 touches and 125 yards per game this season. And he's a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games, right? You can almost say that there is stopping in the red zone. There is no stopping and waiting in the white zone, but in the red zone, there's been stopping
and
for
waiting.
Saquon Barkley.
That was an airplane joke.
Yeah, that was an airplane joke. We got to mix them in throughout the show. And also, I didn't want to pick on you. I didn't want to. I'm wearing a Lions jersey, but they are playing the Detroit Lions. The 5th most rushing yards and 11 rushing touchdowns, struggling with efficiency and volume against that position. So by all accounts, Barkley's set up for another big game.
Really is. It's really tough not to think about ways to find fitting Saquon in your lineup. I did a bunch of different lineups. I will say this. I tried to set a non-Saquon lineup to see what I thought, but it seems so obvious that Saquon Barkley needs to be a part of my lineup this week. We'll see how it works out. Al, let's talk about Ramondre Stevenson, $6,700, taking on the New York Football Jets. What do you like about Ramondre this week?
That they throw the ball to him a metric ton.
Yeah.
A lot. 23 targets. The last 3 games, at least 5 targets in 4 straight games with 4 touchdowns over the last 4 games. So since he took over the job, I think I've talked about him like 3 of the last 4 weeks on this show as well. I'll have to get a little bit more variety, but 16 fantasy points, 21.3 on DraftKings in week 8, 23.8 in week 7, 25, 22. he's just not priced where he should be, especially on a week where he's playing this Jets team that he scored 21.3 against in week 8. And it's a week where everything, as I'm going to keep saying throughout the show, is extremely tight and tough to find value. So if we can get that locked in, if you can lock in like, I don't know, 10 to 20 targets out of your 2 running backs this week, because I don't think you're playing a running back in flex based on the pricing, you give yourself such a leg up, as targets are worth like 2.3 times as many expected fantasy points as rush attempts. So give me targeted targets at running back at the 2 spots I'm going to be playing him at this week.
Yeah, that's fair. He's been crushing it this year, leaving Damian Harris in his wake. Unfortunately, Harris dealing with a lot of injuries, but Ramondre Stevenson has just taken that job and not let go of it. Honestly, he's been fantastic.
Oh, yeah, he's been awesome.
Let's talk about another couple running backs. Joe Mixon, we like, $7,400. Josh Jacobs, $7,500, taking on the Denver Broncos. Dameon Pierce, $6,500 as well, taking on a tough Washington defense, but still like his price point based on the volume he's getting. And then we talked about this game, Devin Singletary, taking on Cleveland, $5,800, may get a ton of snow. We're going to have to continue to watch this one to see how things play out there in Buffalo. Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance?
I would.
Of course you would. When it comes to great rates on insurance, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV, even help with your homeowners or renters coverage, plus add an easy-to-use mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance and more, and Geico is an easy choice. Switch to Geico today and see all the ways that you could save. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com or contact your local agent today. Mike, this last week, while you were kicking my butt in our head-to-head matchup, I texted you and I was like, how did you know about Paris Campbell? Like, that call was stupid. And you were like, I disagree. I felt like it was a great call.
I disrespectfully disagree.
And honestly, Paris Campbell with Matt Ryan under center the last handful of games has been fantastic. And there continues to be value that you can have here in week 11 with Paris Campbell.
He's the 41st price wide receiver on this slate. His last 3 finishes with Matt Ryan under center are 9th, 5th, and 11th. So explain that one to me. That makes no sense. He's been awesome. That connection with Matt Ryan has been for real. And you think about, I talked about this on the first pod, right? His floor during those 3 games, so the worst he's done in these categories is 9 targets, 7 catches, 57 yards, a touchdown. He's won in all 3, and 18 fantasy points. So he should blow by this price point of 4,300. He's the number 2 scoring receiver in fantasy during those 3 weeks. And the
Eagles, the Colts?
No. In the NFL. In the NFL. Actually, Jamar Chase is the only receiver with more fantasy points than him during those 3 weeks. So
Paris Campbell was over those 3 weeks with Matt Ryan.
Wow. So he's been terrific. And it is the Eagles. They haven't allowed a lot to receivers efficiency-wise, but they do face a lot of volume. And slot corner Avonte Maddox is on IR. So it's going to be Josiah Scott. That's actually a respectable matchup for Paris Campbell. So I like him a lot. They're manufacturing touches for him. He's been really productive. He's scoring. He has high pedigree. He's healthy now. So much to like. At 4,300, I don't know how you don't play him this week in cash.
I know you mentioned it, but usually we look at this Philly secondary and we say, boy, it's tough when you look at the Eagles. Like, they've got a good secondary setup.
They
but
do.
Understanding that he's in a spot that can be taken advantage of within the secondary here this week.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Al, let's talk about Garrett Wilson, $4,900, because this dude is a stud. We just need to make sure that he has the ball in his hands probably, 12, 15 times a game? Does that sound about right?
I mean, that would be great. I mean, look, here's the thing. They've activated him again, which is nice. At least he's gotten 8 receptions, 6 receptions the last 2 weeks with 9 targets and 7 targets those last 2 games that they played against Buffalo and New England. So, like, I would hope that they would go up. At least they've been using him again. 14 catches over the past 2 games, responsible for 44% of Zach Wilson's completions in the upset win over the Bills. So he's the wild card. We're scouring for value this week, and he's got a good matchup for his particular skill set, right? He is a good downfield target. New England is challenged downfield at the 4th highest ADOT on the season, and they allow the 5th most yards per completion, which fits right along with Garrett Wilson, and Zach Wilson's preferred throws are downfield. So if he lets one go, Garrett Wilson has a chance to get one big splash play to pay it off, but the volume should also buoy him with a really solid floor.
44% of Zach Wilson's completions last week. That's crazy. He's obviously used a ton. We love Garrett Wilson. Want to see him get the ball more. Love seeing him under 5K, because in a week, Al, where you talked about it, I was scrambling to find wide receivers to find value for, to be able to fit in my lineup. So this was somebody that I also really liked. A couple other guys that we enjoy this week. Stephon Diggs, $8,300. Again, we've got to be able to monitor the weather going on in that game. Justin Jefferson, $9,100, most expensive player on the slate, taking on Dallas, but he is just unreal. Terry McLaurin, $5,900, seems incredibly underpriced, taking on the Houston Texans. DJ Moore, $5,700, taking on Baltimore. CeeDee Lamb on the other side of Justin Jefferson, $7,500. He was great last week. I love CeeDee Lamb. Michael Pittman, $6,100, taking on Philly. And Cortland Sutton, $6,000, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. We will continue to monitor what's going on in that Broncos wide receiving core. Jerry Jeudy, obviously, we will find out how impacted he is from the injury he suffered last week. But if there's any kind of limitation, Cortland Sutton could be a guy this week here against
this assumes no Jeudy for now. So we'll just keep an eye on that.
Okay. Let's look at the tight end position. And Pat Freiermuth, $4,200, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Someone's got to be able to catch passes there. And we love Deontay Johnson. We love George Pickens. But it feels like Pat Freiermuth is just Mr. Consistency in this offense.
He's been awesome. And still, 4,200, just not intimidating, right? He's sixth in pricing because tight end's kind of a mess. But that's not a huge number. 7 or more targets in 6 of his 8 games this season, right? So, again, just awesome really good floor usage. Bad luck with touchdowns. That's something that can be fixed going forward. Should have about 2 to 3 scores. Only has 1 this season, so he could get some regression there. He is top 10 to tight end in targets, catches, and yards. Now, the Bengals kind of mid-pack against tight ends this season, but they allowed at least 75 yards to some of the other tight ends they faced. Mark Andrews, Tyler Conklin, and Pat Freiermuth, who they faced back in week 1 in that game. 9 targets, 5 catches, and 75 yards. So he's already done it against the Bengals, and he's been really good this season. I'll gladly take him at 4,200.
Yeah, I like him quite a bit. Also, like who Al wants to talk about here, and Dalton Schultz. $4,300, and we saw last week another week with Dak Prescott under center, and Dalton Schultz looked like the guy that I know this isn't a season-long show, but the guy that you thought you were drafting back in week 1, he looked like just Dalton Schultz again.
I mean, he's looked like that. One, he had the health problems in the middle of the season, but like this Dallas offense looks like the Dallas offense that we're used to with Dak under center. They play a lot faster, more plays per game, and Dalton Schultz has at least 5 catches in the 3 games since Dak returned, and now he is getting much more up to speed. Target counts increased in each of those 3 games, and he's got a great matchup here. Minnesota is the 2nd worst red zone defense in the league, allowing a score on 72% of opponent trips into the red zone.
Wow. That seems like a high number. Is that
seems
high?
high. Mike, is that high?
72% seems high.
I would say so.
That seems like a high number. Okay.
He's been a top 12 scorer at tight end every week Dak has played. So he is that guy. I mean, he is that tight end 1 when Dak's on the field, and that's been the case. So love him.
We're also missing all of the other tight end 1s. Mark Andrews is hurt. Kelsey's off the slate. Everybody else got injured. Dallas Goedert injured. Zach Ertz out for the year. It's awful. There's just this apocalypse at tight end right now. So now you've got these guys in the 4,500 and down range who are the new elite tight ends on DFS slates.
You know it's bad because of the other guys on our list here. There are other tight ends. Wait till you see who's on here. That's how bad tight end is. Watch this.
I like it. I love that play this week, by the way.
Yeah.
Other tight ends are David Njoku at $3,300, $3,900, and Kyle Pitts at $4,400.
He's become a value because there's no one left. We're just out of tight ends.
It's so bad.
If you run a route, you're a value play.
And that's at $4,400.
Yeah, he's above Freiermuth. He's above Dalton Schultz. I'd rather go that way. David Njoku, we don't even know if he's going to play, so that could be another one crossed off. And then you start looking at other options, and and you're just like, yeah, I guess Pitts looks good. At least there's a chance for 80 yards and a touchdown.
Everything else just feels like a dart throw. Juwan Johnson feels like a dart throw. Trey McBride feels like a dart throw.
Yeah, Harrison Bryant. I mean, Trey McBride. All the the replacement guys. Philly, no one. Jack Stoll. I mean, he'll be in some tournament lineups, but you're not using him in cash. It could be Tyree Jackson for them. He's the guy they want to be the pass catcher from that group, but he's been on PUP. He's going to make his debut this week probably. It's a bad scene, and it just keeps getting worse.
Keeps getting worse. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, it's been tough with pricing across the board, but that's why we're here. That's why we specifically have Mike Clay and Al Zeidenfeld to make sure that we have you guys ready. So, Mike, let's set our Week 11 lineups. Let the people know where we're at.
All right, let's do it. Justin Fields is the quarterback, and I am spending at running back again this week. We're going Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon, the top 2 priced running backs in cash.
How can you afford anybody else?
Oh, you can afford it because, first of all, Devin Singletary, great matchup. The Browns awful against running backs. We'll keep an eye on the weather there, but I like him a lot at 5,800. Wide receiver, Jacoby Myers, such a high floor. Love that in cash. Ben Skoranek, I think you have to try to find a way to punt with one of these Rams receivers. Remember, there's no Cooper Kupp, so he is going to be very busy in this game. He might be their number one. You'd think Allen Robinson, but Skoronek's been ahead of him in usage all season, so could be Skowronek. Paris Campbell, we talked about him. Pat Freiermuth at tight end, and we're going with Houston at defense.
Yeah. I like this lineup. It feels very, I don't want to say stars and scrubsy, but it's a little stars and scrubsy.
It has to be. With the way pricing is right
this
now,
week,
it's just hard. It's tough right now. You don't want injuries, but it almost, like when a guy gets hurt and allows you to go way down and you use essentially a punt or a cheaper running back, that opens up so much more. But it's tough this week, and that's why I'm going heavy at running back, and I'm going Fields. Freiermuth is a top 6 tight end, and then I'm going to have to save somewhere, and that's at wide receiver.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, my lineup for this week is pretty similar, to be honest. I got Justin Fields as my quarterback. I got Saquon Barkley and Ramondre Stevenson. Al talked about the passing game volume that he's getting as well as the work on the ground. Love him at 6,700. My wide receivers are Paris Campbell.
Paris Campbell, huh? I thought he was a bad play.
He was bad. We're allowed to grow. Garrett Wilson, $4,900. Ben Skowronek, $3,900. And then I'm looking at CD Lamb as my other high-priced guy, taking on Minnesota, hoping for a shootout there. He had 11 for 150 and a couple of touchdowns last week. He has looked fantastic with Dak Prescott back under center. I also have the Houston Texans defense. So very similar to you with Greg Dulcich as my tight end. Now, Dulcich was trending up until last week, and then last week was a big jump down.
Yeah, he had a dud, but it is the Raiders, and he's a big part of that game. He's still running all the pass routes, so we feel pretty good about him. And if Judy's out, he'll be even more featured. Keep an eye on the health of Corey Davis as it pertains to Garrett Wilson. He really took a dive, but then when Davis was out and Elijah Moore was in the doghouse, essentially, that's when he had the 2 big games. So I'm keeping an eye on Davis's status here.
Okay. Al, let's talk about your tournament lineups here for week 11. Which direction you want to go?
I want to let it snow. So I'm going to go to Buffalo for my double stack in this one. I think that the field's going to be in better condition if they stay in Buffalo than the snowpocalypse that we seem to be predicting for it. If not, they might move it to Detroit, and then I absolutely love this stack. Josh Allen at quarterback with Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox at tight end. Going to bring that back with DPJ. The show stays in town for another week, the DPJ show. Stevenson and Kamara at the 2 running back spots, 2 high targeted running backs. And I'm going to bring that back with Ben Skowronek, correlating well with Alvin Kamara. I've got Garrett Wilson as a one-off. He's not a one-off. He correlates with Stevenson. Fully correlated lineup this week. And the Indianapolis Colts defense, just a punt-off defense at 2,200.
I love that. I love that we are all on Ben Skowronek.
Let's go.
Everyone's like, who's Ben Skowronek? Do you remember the preseason when Ben Skowronek crushed it? Dude.
He's the number 2 receiver ahead of Allen Robinson and behind Cooper Kupp most of the season. So he's been... it's going to be Skowronek, it's going to be Robinson, and it's going to be Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee at tight end. That's where all the targets are going, and 32% went to Cooper Kupp. They have to go somewhere. And they're already not a good offense. They're not scoring, so that's not going to change anyway. But you know, at this price point, someone has to get the targets, and Skowronek could get 6, 7, 8 a game.
I was very possible. Say that.
Very possible.
He is a guy that can absolutely get that kind of targets, and when you're looking at that volume for that price point, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, by the way, some people might be wondering who's been in the slot, right? Well, Cooper Kupp moves around. He is primarily inside. Skowronek and Robinson basically split that too, right? So just something to think about. Those guys may kind of share that role.
I love it. It's tough. It's tough. We got to find a lot of values this week. Pricing is tight this week, so we're going to continue to monitor everything, especially that Buffalo-Cleveland game with the weather. Going to have a lot of changes. Make sure that you check out Fantasy Football Now on Sunday morning.
I picked a bad week to stop drinking Miller Lite.
Stop. That's not true. Did you? It's my birthday.
No, it was an airplane joke.
Oh, wow. I didn't get that.
I didn't want to do like snorting.
Oh, that's fair.
It's a Disney company. I'm a company man, as we say.
All right. That's going to do it for us here in week 11. Thank you so much for hanging out. Follow us on Twitter at Daniel Dopp, at Mike Clay NFL, at Al Zeidenfeld. Mike and I will tweet out links to the league. We love you guys. Please love each other. Be kind to yourself. We'll see you on Friday.
Happy birthday, Daniel.
See ya.
Love you, buddy.
Love you too, man.